All right, hey y'all. I'm just gonna give it a couple seconds to get this video started up. I'm not exactly sure this is the first time we're gonna be doing this. Hey, it's Trent Knox. This is a version of the IG Live Trent Knox show. Not too many people probably know about what's going on with this, but in this episode, I'm going to be testing out new features and talking to none other than Monroe, the videography for Dakota Meyer. Let's get him invited into here. Wait, that's not the right button. Send to... let me look. Send. Okay. Waiting for Nice to get into the video right now. Waving at Brian Kern. Thank you for joining. Thank you. We're getting ready for this this little podcast we're going to be doing here. This is a new feature. Unfortunately, let me show a little bit more chest hair. Unfortunately, the device that I wanted to utilize with this did not come through. But here we go. Boom. View. Waiting on Knives to join. Let's see. How is this going to work?
What up?
Okay,
what
there
up?
we go. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. My nipples are erect. I feel good. How about yourself?
Great. Can you hear me?
Dude, my nipples
Is
are
all
so
right?
sharp. My nipples are so sharp right now, like you don't even know.
Hell yeah. So what's going on?
Hell
Where are you
yeah.
traveling to?
No, I'm just coming home, man. I got out early. I never get out this early. Actually, I shot a video at the park.
Okay.
And it has to do with Tyler Babin. I'm gonna clickbait him. I'm entitling it "The One Thing Tyler Babin is Missing," and I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna put it up in an hour. Put it up on IGTV. Tag him and all that shit, and hopefully he watches it.
Oh wow, somebody wants to call me right now.
Gotta love it,
Let me see if I can fix this again.
bro. I'd be rendering in the car, bro. What's up, Brian? We got to do a podcast.
So you're rendering in the car.
I'll be rendering in the car, bro.
All right, so yeah, let's get into it, man. You've been, you posted that video about yourself, about what the whole thing is going on with your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Man, I have to say, I really enjoyed that video. It really gave me some perspective on life and my journey as a filmmaker. And
well, I'm flattered.
I'm not where you're at.
It wasn't an entertainment value video. It wasn't about entertainment. I wasn't trying to entertain anybody. So it's really cool that you thought I was cool, man. And it's pretty cringy on my end because it's some vulnerable shit and stuff like that. I usually delete right after, but
Right.
comments like that make me want to keep it up. So I appreciate you, man. And bro, we're on the same level, man. I'm just a little bit older than you. I've just been doing it just a little longer, but we're all on the same level, bro. So don't get it twisted.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying as far as technology is going and whatnot. The tools of the trade keep on changing, and I'm just keep on. I learn every other day that there's some new way of teaming up or some way of collaborating, and the tools just get more complex or they get less complex. It's kind of just an always just got to figure it out. What works for you or what's going on.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about, Tyler. What I'm trying to tell him is like, dude, he's had too many wins. Like he got that job at Vayner, he got the media, the Adobe residency. Like he's been stacking up W's, and I just think he needs some L's. That's all.
Okay.
And it's not a sit down, be humble thing. I just think I think like I told you, he needs to go build a hut in Guatemala. Yeah. Like he just needs to get outside his comfort zone. That's all. But don't ask other people what kind of content you should make. Like, is that why you got a residency? I could do that. You know what I mean? Like, no, man. Like,
right.
go find your voice. Like, this is the time to maximize your privilege. This is the time to fail because you have a parachute. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you can afford to fail. That's the ultimate privilege. So maximize that shit. Like, don't feel guilty about it. You know what I mean? Like, don't crowdsource ideas. Dude, if you don't got ideas, that's the problem. You know what I mean? So hopefully it clicks with him. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
I love the guy. He's very inspiring. He's always inspired me.
Yeah, I don't know. I sent him an email, basically kind of addressing that, what was going on in that video, and some of the things that happened with him and Gary V, and the fact that Gary on his way on Tyler's way out wasn't exactly pleased with him and the amount of content he was producing, and that was evident in some of the videos and the way that their dynamic was going in a different direction. And Gary was kind of being kind of aggressive towards him in certain videos, kind of basically saying that if he doesn't get his act together for the team, then he's got to go, right? And it kind of gave me a different perspective on Gary, because it was like, okay, man, I don't necessarily know. You are always talking about how, when the economy collapses and the dollar doesn't mean anything, there's not much value to what you're doing, Gary, because what you're doing is flexing all of this production, all this stuff that you can, afford to have because you made good investments. But that doesn't necessarily translate to the slums of nowhere, or, Istanbul, in the dirt, It doesn't really translate that. Where he kind of thrives is in this, metropolitan area where he's got a lot of things to bounce off of,
Yeah, I don't know his, Tyler stuff, like, other than what I've seen, like, that was open source. So I don't know the nitty gritty on why he left. I thought they left on, like, amicable terms. So, like, I don't know all that. Like, I don't know what to believe necessarily. That's kind of like, it's borderline, like, fake news to me. Like, you might have to, like, send me the links. Like, I can't comment on any of that. Dude, I love Gary, man. Like, I know the tide is turning for him, like, for a lot of people. Like, they're just off it, and I respect that. Like, hold on. No, I really respect that. But I got so much love for that guy. I don't see anything he does as a flex, personally. Like, yeah, he's got a crew of 30 people to produce his content, but, I mean, yeah, he's employing 1,000 people. Like, because when the economy collapses, he's going to buy Sour Patch Kids or Blockbuster, or he's going to buy some sort of IP and then flip it and make $1 billion off of it and buy the jets. He's been saying that since day one, so it's kind of hard for me to, that's all he's been doing. He's, I've heard him say himself, like, he's like that one pitcher that's got that one throw, or he's like that one boxer that's got that one, right hook or whatever. And I know what he means by that, and so that's all he's ever been. I think people after 4 or 5 years are just like, okay, we get it. And that's fine. That's totally valid, but I love him, dude. Like, at the end of the day, anybody that's promoting honey over vinegar and empathy over cynicism and shit like that, and patience over expectations, like that guy's he's a G in my book, man.
Yeah, I definitely think that, well, the thing, my email that I closed with is like, yeah, they came to amicable terms, and everything seemed to be sorted out, whatnot. And Gary has a crazy redemption factor. He realizes what he's done that's kind of negative, or been not exactly the best tactic in a situation, and he kind of tries to develop a piece of content to correct his image, or he's very aware of his image, so, and tip my hat to D-Rock. D-Rock is the one behind all that, as far as, like, he's really good at capturing those moments,
Right on.
So
man.
what would you say is the overall status of the industry of videographers of, like, our type, the personal branding videographers?
I'll tell you, man. I don't care what anybody says. You cannot strip this away from me. This is just what I believe right now. If you catch me at a time, like, right after I had an ice cream sandwich and my self-esteem was low, I might be, you could probably hypnotize me to think something different. But I'll tell you right now, like, we're the captain now. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying we're the gatekeepers, and I'm not going on some power trip about that, but the truth is, like, going back to Gary, he ain't the only one that says this, but every company needs to look at themselves as a media company, and a lot of people don't want to learn about aperture and ISO and shutter speed and streams and things like that. People don't want to. This ain't their bag, but now everybody's bag is this bag. So guys like you that went to school for it, and guys like me that were self-taught and been doing this for 15 years, you know, we can call some shots. Like now there's like, dude, when I graduated high school, there was 2 routes. Like you had to either go to NYC or LA and go to film school and like become a hired hand, and you'd be lucky if you could pay rent. And they would say, you know, like, good luck trying to make it. And now like everybody wants to be me. Everybody wants to be D-Rock, you know, and I don't flex. Like, you know, I fucking don't. It's just, you know, it's a good position to be in because now, you know, I can eat. There's just plenty of food on the table for everybody now. So it wasn't like that 10, 15 years ago. It wasn't even like that 6, 8 years ago. But I think people are starting to get it now because now everybody wants high production values. And usually that means just putting a 4K camera on a tripod. That's all.
Do you think it has to do a little bit with the fact that, you know, distribution has kind of gotten into our hands and that we can definitely place things in the right place?
It has to do with the OTT platforms has just like democratized film and filmmaking. Like, there hasn't been a movie that has been more socially relevant and added more to the culture, more than Game of Thrones and Stranger Things. Like, no, like movies used to be the only game in town. That's how I got connected to this, you know, and now it's not anymore. And it's the same thing with YouTubers. Like your average 14 to 21-year-old, they don't watch movies, they watch YouTube. You know, they'll talk to you about Shane Dawson or whoever, you know. So the OTT platforms and the direct-to-consumer platforms have completely changed the game. And guys like us who have been doing this forever, we just didn't really have a home, a mother base. Now it's like, oh, I could do that. And now, we could just make some money off of it, and that's pretty cool. There's a creative middle class, and there never has been in the history of ever. Now, you know, I see the trends come and go, and everything's cyclical. Like, eventually, we're just one computer program away, or one, you know, new Apple product away for that's going to make us obsolete. Like, I don't know how long this is going to last, you know. So I kind of feel like it's an evergreen skill, but it's also perishable. Like, if we don't make a name for ourselves right now, like, there might not be something to make a name for in the future.
Yeah, man, I think that my space, the where I grew up and the type of content that I consumed, which was partially narrative filmmaking and on the other hand live video conception, like Ustream before it got bought out by like NASA and all of that. Growing up watching live video wasn't really available until 2015, when it really got to a place in which it was discoverable and consumable. So, like, what do you think the state is of live video?
Man, I kind of like believe in live video the most. Like, in a way, live video, I mean, it's the same, everything's immediate. Nobody really wants to like work for anything. Like, dude, I shouldn't be saying this, but like, I'll hop on a Periscope and I'll watch like a UFC because of somebody's live stream. Like, things like that. Like, there's access, not just like voyeurism, but like there's access to everything now. Like, if I was a band, I'd live stream every single one of my shows. I'd live stream every single one of my rehearsals. I'd live stream every single one of my acoustic sets at an open mic. Like, I'd be live streaming all the time. Like, I remember back in my day, 2009, Blog TV, before it was bought out by Google. Dude, I met a lot of friends and I made a lot of connections and networks, like in 2009, 2010 from Blog TV, which is basically just this. There was a host and a co-host, and there's a little chat room, and it was so cool. And I was gone there. It was missing for a while, and it came back, like you said, in 2015. And so I kind of think it's like, here's the thing. A lot of people suck at it. A lot of people really suck at it. So if you're really good at it, like, you can totally stand out.
Yeah, people, I think especially once you get into those higher levels of live video production, when we're talking about multi-camera, multiple audio engineers, multiple camera angles. That's where I think there's like a very small demographic of people who understand that conceptually. But even at
Question, Trent, is this going live to my live stream too?
yeah, it's also going live to you.
And so what are you doing that's different right now?
What do you mean
Like,
different?
what is the experiment? It's just like normal Instagram live co-host thing?
Well, what I was trying to do that was different, and which I didn't get the hardware, was give pro audio added to an Instagram live video.
Yeah, dude, if you can figure out that hack, that's going to be fucked up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And you know, I just recently did an Instagram live with Robert, and we were able to take that live and piece it down to a 10-minute piece of content that hit like 1,000 views in 3 days. You know, Instagram, you know, piecing that down, adding a little overlay, graphic transitions, a little music in the background, blah, blah, blah. We get like a high quality,
I'll raise you
know,
one.
piece of
I'll
content.
raise you one. If you can, you know how you can, because like when I first made Pipe Dream, I would go into Facebook Lives and I'd live stream it. Right, so it'd have like a little countdown timer, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 10 seconds, you know, 3, 2, 1, and then it would premiere. And that was really like a DIY fun way of doing it. Anybody can do that through OBS. You just like, you know, live stream your VLC player. But if you can figure out how to do that on Instagram Live, like that'll be a massive unlock for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of the API behind Instagram Live, and they kind of retroactively took some of the features out of Instagram Live. It used to be a people where people could just see anybody live. There was a discoverability. I am waiting for those features to come back, and then once we get those kinds of features back, it will, you know, definitely elevate the game of Instagram Live. You know, Instagram Live keeps changing. Instagram as a platform keeps changing. IGTV allowed everybody to put out 60 minutes of IGTV content. Now they reduced that to if you have 10,000 followers. Now you can upload 60 minutes of IGTV. So it used to be
I don't know why you want to do that.
Well, because maybe people want to see the nuances, of a live or something like that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
What about what right now is really like technologically get your rocks off? What's pushing you and driving you forward?
Nothing. Like I'll tell you what's pushing me is going back to writing, because I feel like fiction. There's not a pedestal on fiction. Fiction only exists through the paradigm of like OTT platforms and film, I guess. But you know, everybody on YouTube and Instagram is into voyeurism and into the whole document don't create philosophy, and I produce a lot of that as well. But I love like scripted content. Like I think that's really cool, and there's tremendous upside in that. You know, like I never underestimate the power of like writing a really, really powerful true line or a true scene, and executing on that is very powerful. Like, you know, I've been very wide open to just how organic like life can be, and trying to capitalize on that and trying to portray it in a beautiful way cinematically. But honestly, like, you know, the way Louis C.K. had his show, the way Donald Glover did Atlanta, or even like a Larry David does Curb Your Enthusiasm, like the way they script content is super fun. And that's what like reminds everybody how talented and how singular their voices are. Everybody's sounding too much the same. I don't care about what's his name, the guy, he reviews like a bunch of tech. He's like huge on YouTube.
MKBHD.
Yeah. Marcus, right?
Yeah.
Like that guy, brilliant dude. Like I don't care about the next Red Epic that's 16K. Like what are you gonna film with it? Like, you know, who the fuck cares? Like unless you look at Alfonso Cuarón's like Roma, like unless you're affecting me like through some fiction that could really make me feel, or some like, you know, incredible Vice-like documentary, like going back to like just like narrative, like really interests me more so than tech. Because like, what's the
Hmm.
point of VR and AR, and what's the point of 8K and all these things? Like, if you're not telling compelling stories, what's the point?
Right.
What's the point of ads and content and what we do if we're not telling compelling stories? Like,
Hmm.
that's why I kind of like podcasts, because there's a storytelling element to it. You know, there's a live stream element to it. There's an organic free flow element to it. Like, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. It works visually, it works sonically. Like, it's such a malleable clay. Like, I still love that. Like, I'm not bored with the form just yet. Like, the more tech, like, it just dilutes. It inspires the art, but it can also like act as as like a veil, and like, you know, people forget like what's so incredible about narrative to begin with, man. So I kind of feel like we got to bring it back in a way.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of caught in between because, you know, the high grade technology as far as video production doesn't necessarily work with live stream production because bandwidth reasons and, you know, the ability to be streaming. So even if I had a 4K, 6K, 8K camera, there's almost no live streaming platform that will allow me to push that kind of data. You know, it kind of caps out at 1080p on most platforms without partnership. But having said that, I mean, what do you think about this kick that people have been on in regards to um, in regards to apologizing and also forgiveness, being apologetic and being forgiving of either the system or the people around you, community. Like,
Can you give me
where
an
is this coming
example?
from?
Can you give me an example? Because I'm a Christian, and like, I'm all about forgiveness, and I'm all about
Sure.
accountability, and like, if you make a mistake, yeah, like, accept it and ask for
Well,
forgiveness or whatever. So I don't know in what kind of way are you asking?
I guess recently, Echo Charles and now I
Jocko.
remember his name, and
Jocko.
Jocko discussed this concept of somebody, you know, feeling like they needed someone else to apologize for them being
Gotcha.
wronged, you know.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
then I heard it again from a different perspective of you need to be able to forgive your oppressor, or and then
Yes.
I heard it from but then I kind of took it and I was like, there are a lot of people out there who aren't willing to apologize for things like, and I apologize if ever I've ever did you wrong, but, you know, go out there and apologize, and shortly they'll just say, you know what, they'll more like an atheist will more likely claim Jesus before they'll ever apologize for doing something wrong. You know, like, the Lord made me do it. Forgive all my sins. He died on the cross. You know, it's blame it on someone else rather than take the accountability or you know,
You know, bro,
of the
like in my
situation.
life, man, like, I've wronged some people. I've fucked up many times, and I go out of my way to apologize for that. I go out of my way to be like, I fucked up. I go out of my way to be like, no excuses. That was shitty, and I'm shitty sometimes. And I'm sorry, and I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that. Like, it's part of like the 12 steps. Not that I am like a recovering addict or something, but like, it's
Mm,
just the making amends thing I really believe in. Like, I really believe in that. And not a lot of it has happened the other way around. It's not necessarily reciprocated. There are people like my father who abandoned me at 4 years old, never really came out of the woodworks and was like, "Hey, Knives, like, I'm really sorry about not, you know, being there for you or whatever." And so I also don't have those expectations. I think people are,
mhm,
you know, I don't know where everybody's coming from, and everybody reacts with like experience and trauma in a different way, but I've gone out of my way to make amends with people that arguably may have not even deserved it, but I did it for me. I did it
mhm,
because, you know, it's like that Mark Twain thing, like, you know, anger is like acid. Like, it does more to like the vessel in which it's contained than it does to what it's poured onto, right? So I'm not very good with anger. Like, I try to let that shit go, you know? So I'm all about forgiveness, but ultimately you also have to make peace with the fact that like we don't deserve closure. Like,
mhm.
that's a
Oh,
fictional
that's a
element. You know
mm,
what I mean? Like, we're not entitled to closure. We don't deserve it. You know what I mean? So if you're so fortunate enough to get it, consider yourself lucky. But that's pretty much like the extent of what I think about that. I don't really I don't dwell in that, man. Like, I really don't. Especially having kids, like, I consider karma to be a very practical element in my life. Like, it's a very real almost concrete frequency for me. So like I'm careful about like what I put out there because it's going to come back. What if it affects my kids? Maybe it doesn't affect me, but what if it affects my kids in a negative? Then I'm going to feel really guilty about that, right? So because I put something out there, like the sins of the father, like that shit's real. You know what I mean? So I try to just resolve things in real time. I try to practice that the older I get.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of being, a family man, a father, or whatnot, what kind of importance do you place on patience? I know Gary Vee talks about this a lot. A lot of high-level entrepreneurs, Tony Robbins, they all talk about this word patience. What do you think?
I'm very patient, man. I'm very patient. Like, nobody owes me nothing, not even my family. Like, my mom always told me if you lend somebody money, it's like you're giving it to them. Like, don't expect to get it back. You know what I mean? And so I don't have expectations for anybody. And so it's harder for somebody to let me down. It's really hard. But I got patience. Like, when it comes to my kids, it is a long game, man, and the long game must be respected. Like, all I'm doing is reaping and just reaping, planting seeds, watering them, nurturing them. Like, they're like my little garden, and I love them. And I have no doubt that they're going to bloom when the season and the time comes, like, sorry, I'm just keep looking at my battery life on the Mac because I'm waiting for this render to finish. But, yeah, I practice it, dude. Like, people like, Claire, who just joined, maybe she's not in this live stream anymore, but my better half, like, she's been so patient with me. Like, I can't even imagine the patience, like, how much I've tested this woman of like, just wait, we're going to figure it out. Like all these, she's been there for me for all my pipe dreams, and, I wouldn't be here without her patience. And it's the same thing. I try to reciprocate that, I try to reciprocate that to my kids. Cause one of these days they're going to have fucking kids and I want them to, they're going to fucking know like, wow, I was a dick to my dad. You know what I mean? And it's going to be like, yeah. And I fucking ate it because I loved you. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing with my career. Like I've gotten a lot better at, there's some people that want to be a millionaire in 6 months. That's wonderful. But, I'm cool with like spacing that shit out 10 years, like I really am, I know so many people want the overnight success so bad, but, I'm not super romantic about patience the way I am about other virtues, but it is definitely a virtue, my friend. It is, man.
Speaking of that, what about trust? I mean, that seems to be something that I've had a conflict between patience and trust. What do you have to say about that?
Dude, I've been burned. I've been burnt, man. Like, I've been hurt. I've been fucked over. I pay DPs money, and they take my money and they leave. They don't shoot my movie. I got to shoot it. I've put $8,000 into a movie, and the producers don't give me my own copy of a movie because they didn't trust me. And it's like, what? I put $8,000 into this movie. I showed up every day. I quit my job at Burger King to meet these shooting days. Like, I felt unsafe with these guys. I worked 50-hour days, and I don't deserve it. Like, what? They didn't have that trust with me, and that's whatever. That's fine. This goes back to the forgiveness element. Like, I made peace with that shit. But, I think it's Stephen Covey that wrote a book called, like, The Speed of Trust. And you just get more things done at a faster level when you trust somebody. And I really believe in that, I really believe in that. But fucking that up, like, I've broken some promises because I forgot or it wasn't a priority to me or for whatever reason, that you can't justify. It just is what it is. And then I lose that trust with that person. Like, I hate myself for that. So it goes both ways, man. Like, it goes both ways. Like, there is a speed to trust. Like, if you believe in me, then you and I can get some shit done, and vice versa. You know what I mean? But if you don't, and you don't, you're cynical and you keep your guard up at all times, like, you're going to be moving at a slow pace.
Yeah, I've been recently trying to reverse engineer this trust and patience thing because I've had information come to me that I didn't even know, like people reaching out to friends, family in different angles and not coming to me to tell me about certain things I did wrong or certain things that they disliked about what I was doing, or the communication wasn't fully detailed enough to really exemplify my feelings or the way I perceive it. Or
the fastest way to learn if you should trust someone is to trust them.
Yeah.
And if they violate that, well, then like, that's the fastest way to, like, to see if you can trust human beings.
Right.
I've had my shit broken into, and I've been backstabbed, and I've been cheated on, and like all that stuff, man. But I don't regret trusting them. It just goes to it's just a healthy reminder that shit sucks dick sometimes, and you don't deserve perfection. Nobody does.
Yeah. So just for for everybody personally, and to get a little bit of a personal thing from Niles Monroe, what are you consuming, man? What are you enjoying? Like, did you recently see the Spider-Man? What's going on?
Fuck, what am I consuming? No, I don't want to be this guy. Nothing. Like, no movies. Not really. I keep talking myself out of like, nah, I don't want to see Godzilla. Nah, I don't want to see Spider-Man. Nah, I don't want to see Aladdin. Like, I don't want to see Lion King. Like, I keep talking myself out of these things. Like, I'm not into it. Um, there was like a good weekend where like Game of Thrones and like Endgame came out, and that was really fun, and I felt like a kid, and it was cool. But as far as like consuming, Quentin Tarantino came out with like a 3 hour podcast. I was in the middle of listening to that. I discovered Matt Diavella on YouTube. He has like 1 million subscribers or maybe more. And that guy's just like a real authentic voice. Like, as soon as you start selling to me, I'm out. Like, as soon as you start, I don't like that. Like, I'm not going to say I'll never do that. I don't know. But there's so many people like, camera reviews and like buy my Lightroom presets, and everything just has like all this sauce on it that like it really turns me off. Like Stranger Things was on, and the product placement was like killing me, man. Like I'm not about that. Like, what have I been consuming? Like, music this year has been kind of whack for me. I'm waiting for like Grimes to come out with something, and Kendrick needs to come out with something, and like, I haven't really been consuming much, which is probably why I've been more creative.
Hmm. Something that Jocko and Echo were talking about. Jocko said this is that his wife kind of perceives life in feelings, where he perceives life in perceptions and visuals. Where he kind of like he says that he observes things this way rather than feeling it that way, or putting emotion into
I'm like
things.
his wife. I was raised by a single
Correct.
mom, so maybe it's like a feminine thing. Like I'm more
Mm.
into like everything's feelings, everything's a vibe. Like
Hmm.
I was gonna make a movie, and maybe I still will, or maybe I'll adapt it to something else. And I met with an actress, and I just vibed it out. Like I didn't even. I was just like, I'm gonna know when I meet her, and like I've been able to trust my intuition a lot. Like lately, and I'm more of a feeling kind of guy always. Like even my favorite movies like are the ones that are the most like emotional for me. Yeah, I'm not like that guy's. Jocko's very logistical, analytical. Like he's like the gears are in motion. Even though he's poetic, he's an artist, I think, as well. He's very like
Hmm.
emotionally intelligent as well. But you can't take the Navy SEAL out of him. Like he's always going to be like a tactile logician. But for me, I'm the same way too. I don't know what point you were trying to make there, but I'm that kind of way. I'm like his wife.
No, I was just basically kind of gonna express that I feel like I'm somewhere in between. Certain things I'm a little bit more just cut and dry. It is the way it is, and other things I'm kind of I have emotion in them, and that's why I have the guilty pleasure, and I do end up being a consumer. Whether that's adult content, esports gaming, child,
I really feel like,
playing
and
with.
maybe, dude, you and me always talk about this. I really feel like you just got like a real big void inside
Mhm.
you. Not in like some
Mhm.
sort of you need crystals kind of way, but like, maybe you do. Just kidding. But I feel like that's where like that comes from. Is like it's a procrastination thing. It's I'm gonna hold off on something. I'm gonna numb myself with it. It's just another drug. Like there's a void in there, and there might be a more productive way to fill it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you bring up the crystal thing, and I have desired to go and get like a crystal. I haven't satisfied those urges. You know what I mean? Those guilty pleasures all the time.
Yeah.
Like going and drinking a Coca Cola, or
Yeah,
there are a lot
indulgences
of
scare
different
the shit
things.
out of me, man. I'm,
Indulgence.
yeah, I'm totally. That's those are the demons in my life, or like my indulgences.
Hmm.
Totally. Like I don't trust them. I don't even. I'm like I aspire to be Buddhist in that way of like I do not want those things. I do not want. Period.
Hmm.
I like to kind of like quell desire, not satiate it, but quell it. Put a manhole cover on it is what I aspire to do or be, because like all these things, dude, fuck these things. Like fuck possessions, fuck Deepak Chopra, call him what you will,
Hmm.
but he calls it the superstition of materialism. Sounds nice. Like, I like that. I don't believe in this, even though he's a millionaire and he has a fucking nice house. But, like, I don't believe in, like, cool shit's going to fill my void, or like that donut that's going to fill my void. It just, like, numbs you, man, and then you lose yourself, and then you got to get out.
So how do you draw the line in the sand between desire and indulgence and passion and
there's a difference between input and output. Like,
okay.
What I desire is more output. Like, I want to create images. I want to create feelings. I want to be able to convey something complex but true. I want to connect. I want people to say, wow, I feel that way sometimes. Like, that kind of stuff. Like, I just want to be able to send frequencies and vibes and waves out there. It's about the output, and it's exhausting. But, like, the only input I need is, like, the antenna that I have with God and, like, creativity. Like, I love muses, and I love looking at a painting or listening to a sonic painting or, like, listening to a podcast or one-on-one discussion. Like, we're so disconnected and all that shit, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole different podcast. But, like, these interactions actually fill up my cup and make me feel like, oh, I can go say something now. Like, this to me is far more compelling and, like, almost like a lost art form, which is why I think, like, you got something special going on with, like, your streaming stuff, because you know how to connect in that way, essentially. But that, like, fills up my gas tank, but, like, commercials and ads and even going through the Explore tab on Instagram and, like, getting stuck through a Facebook hole or a YouTube dungeon or whatever, and, watching movies and all this shit, like, I've never, okay, that's not true, but, like, I don't drink a whole lot. Like, I've drank a few times here and there, but it would be like, hey, what's up, Pete? It would be like being hammered. It'd be like shit-faced. It would be like being blackout drunk. Like, I don't want to binge, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sick of that stuff. I'm sick of consuming. I'm sick of the input. I'm sick of, like, being told that it's all a self-esteem thing, that I don't have enough, or that, like, I need a Benz or whatever. Like, I want to be free, man. Like, my daughter, she's like a little id walking around, and she desires just, like, sensory experiences. Like, she wants to play with slime. That's more compelling to her than anything, or she wants to be in the dirt or play with sand and look at these little pieces of sand. Like, nobody looks at sand anymore, you know what I mean? And, like, I want to look at life through the eyes of my daughter in that way, like, which is like a de-evolution. Like, I've spent 12 years building my brain, and now I just keep dropping stuff along the way, because I'm trying to unlearn more shit, because a lot of this stuff, just made me want, and I'm trying to want a whole lot less.
So would you say you find intimacy in the ethereal, or like the I forgot the other word, but
I find intimacy and inadequacy. Like, I find intimacy and vulnerability. I find intimacy in like like, I just opened up recently and telling people, like, I could not go buy shoes the other day. I went to the shoe store and I was there for an hour. And I was like, I can't. I don't know how to do this. And I went back home, and I told my son, who's 13, and I was like, I just couldn't buy shoes. And he's like, dude, I'll go with you. And I said, okay. And then we went back to the store, and he went with me, and he picked them out for me. Like, I couldn't do it. I just did not know how. And that kind of support, like, normally I just keep that to myself, go home and just live another 2 years with the same shitty shoes. But, like, I can't go to H-E-B and pick a box of cereal. Like, I just can't. Like, there's certain things that I'm, like, autistic in that way. Like, I can't do. They call it a social anxiety, whatever. I don't know or care what it is. But, like, if I don't open up about these things and, like, make a video about that, or, like, express artistically these inadequacies, I feel like I'm not being true to myself. But when you do this, it's intimate and people connect, and it's so valuable, and it's so, like, it's special, man. And, like, people don't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we need more of that. Like, that's the shit that I really connect with. When someone's open and they just bare all, and they're just a raw nerve, like, I'm super attracted to that.
So what would you say you get to do that's selfish and, for you?
Podcasting and making videos and going out and taking pretty pictures and being weird. Like, I value being weird so much. Like, I love the space to be weird. And I love the space to say dumb things. Like, this whole leftist, like, be perfect and know everything and, like, include everybody, and every tweet has to be so cleverly composed and, like, that kind of shit. like is erosion to me. Like I'm not about that life. Like, you know, reality is in the imperfection, and I care about people who want to look ugly sometimes and are comfortable with that, you know, and do Instagram lives with no makeup, you know, like I love that shit, you know, and not doing it as a gimmick, but doing it because that's who they are. I'm
Hmm.
attracted to that, man. So my selfish time is being able to record a podcast. That's why in 6, 7 months, I've only done 8 episodes of my show. It's not because it's on a hiatus. It's because it's fucking hard. Although I have the biggest guest ever in tomorrow's episode. So I'm looking forward to that. I need to squeeze that time in. He's in Pacific Standard Time. So it's really
Hmm.
hard because I'm 2 hours in the future. But if I can get him on, it'll be a dream come true.
I'm looking forward to that. So do you have anything you wanted to like ask me, or if is there anything you
Well,
want to
I'm glad that
promote or
you
talk
want.
about?
I'm glad you wanted to do this, man. As far as asking you, like, no, I don't have any questions right now because I kind of got this is kind of random, you know, but just keep doing what you're doing, man. Like, make your voice heard. Get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to fail. Be weird. Like, don't worry about perfection and like looking great all the time, or looking skinny all the time, or looking hot all the time, or like being in the mood, or being inspired. Like all that shit. Like
Hmm.
Coca-Cola fucking bought you. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like that something happened, dude. It's just not right. It's just not real. Like be yourself and disappear sometimes and come back and like just be honest and real and human, and it's okay, you know, like if you can just do that, I think everything's going to be okay. I think we'll all be better for it.
Yeah. So what you said you got an upcoming project going on? You're gonna do a podcast dropping tomorrow, or when we can expect it?
Well, I think I'm going to record it tomorrow, and what's tomorrow, Tuesday, and maybe have it up Wednesday, because like I used to be like every Monday, but now I'm just like whenever I got it, I'm gonna flip it. Like it's whatever, you know. Like who the fuck cares? They exist forever. So the drop like is so like, and the lifespan of a podcast, the drop is irrelevant. You know, it's really
Hmm.
it's like it needs to sit on the shelf like a library book, and people check it out. So I'm just gonna drop it whenever. But I love my guest. I wish we were best friends in real life. This guy is a hero of mine and inspires me still to this day. He's a filmmaker. I'll leave it at that. And you know, I'd like to have it out tomorrow, or maybe tomorrow night, but you know, like Wednesday morning or whatever. So yeah.
So
As
also,
far as like special projects, I really want to make some like I really want to make either a series or a movie this year. Like I have to.
nice, nice. Are you able to talk about who you're producing for? Oh, of course. Yeah. Do you want to talk about your other production, your other podcast that you're producing?
Are you talking about the scalpel?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm really proud of that product, man, and shout out to you. Like, thank you so much for helping me figure that out. I was happy to compensate you as well, like, because it was worth it. Because I was like, I cannot crack this nut alone. Recorded
Yeah.
an episode with him this morning. He wants to go like 5 days a week, so we're still trying to figure that out. But I love the product. Like, his podcast is amazing. Like, what a podcast! Like, it sounds
Hmm.
great. It is composed so well. You know, he's a professional. He has a knack for like radio, so I like his aesthetics. It's really cool. You know, it's a hard thing for me to put my name on. I'll be honest, just because of the subject matter. Like, I don't even have political thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
I'm an artist. I'm an artist. Like,
Hmm.
artists are kind of like people in the middle. We just are. Like, you know, I I don't know. Like as an artist, it's my obligation to read the Quran, to study Buddhism, to study Christianity, to dabble in Satanism. Like it's my job to like view everything and
Yeah.
consider it and contemplate over it. So to be like, this is who I am. Like I subscribe to all these thoughts. I can't do that, you know?
Hmm.
So, but you know, it's actually surprisingly fun to do. It's challenging in a way because it keeps me on my toes. It's not like a passive job by any means, so it's draining in that way. I've been doing so much meditating the past 2 weeks, and I think that's how I'm able to manage because I've been pretty firm in my conscious strength, like really. So the more meditating I do, the stronger I feel. So I just got to keep that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I've really enjoyed it. I've gotten through about three of them because
Stunning.
you know it's real. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Um, each one is information that I'm not really, it's not my thing, but it is a learning experience for me to hear about that, the interactions and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. It was cool being able to help you out, and I look forward to seeing where that goes. It gets better every single episode, production-wise. Shout out, to you, being that producer behind the camera and whatnot, behind the microphone.
Dude, I'm telling you, like guys like us, man. We're gonna look back and say those were the days, and right now, today, these are the fucking days. Like. Mm-hmm. We're going to look back at this and say those were the days. So, man, like, go out and, and make some money,
Hell yeah. So, on the outro here, man.
Which, by the way, I want to make a YouTube video, and I just want to put it out there. That way you can hold me accountable. Like, I do want to make a YouTube video about, like, money insofar as, like, how to ask for it and, like, not over, like you don't want to, like, a snake can choke on like an animal that it tries to eat because it's gone months without eating. Like, I'm sure you've heard that. And it's trying hard not to do that. Like, because I've been guilty of that too. Like, I worked with Robert for 6 months or 7 months or longer before he paid me anything. But that was our arrangement. We did it for free. Like, I was getting experience out of it. And dude, I did free work for like 13 years. Like, I really believe in that. Like, I'm not saying everybody should do that, but there's no shame in doing like biz dev work, and like there's different frequencies and there's different currencies other than money. And like, so I want to make a video. I'm not the pro at that, but for other filmmakers out there that feel weird about asking for money, like, they pay us for the bullshit, not to live our dream, not for exposure, not for experience. They pay us for the bullshit that they don't want to do. They pay you for the drive out there, and they pay you for the stuff that they just don't ever want to fucking deal with. They just want it to be done. And that's kind of like the thesis I'm working on there, and I do want to make a video about that.
That does sound like a good video, man. I want to hear about it.
I love you, Trent.
So on the outro, man, give you your shout-outs, plugs, handles, all of that, man. Sell out for the camera.
I really want to grow my Facebook group page, Indie Darlings. I really want to grow that. If that can have 100,000 people, I mean, shit, if it can have 10,000 people, that would be so cool. Like, I want to drop podcasts in there. I want to drop movies in there. Like, I just want that to be like my platform. I know it's Facebook, but I just want that to be like the place I hang out. Like, I want to say goodbye to everything else and just live in that Facebook group page. I just want to live there. So it's called Indie Darlings. I got a website, indiedarlings.net. I manage flipsidecanvas.com, that brand, the Instagram, ownthedash.com. I manage that. Dakota Meyer, like, I'd be able to curate his content. It's so fucking cool. The Scalpel with Dr. Keith Rose, I curate that content as well. And I'm Knives Monroe. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to make more shit. I'm trying to just be honest and live my truth, as Brian Kern would say. And guys like you keep inspiring me and keep making me challenge myself, because I'm like, if I don't challenge myself and get better, these guys are going to take my derb.
Yep, you're an elite captain. I follow in your footsteps. Ahoy, matey. You know what I mean? We're going on this pirate ship. We don't know where we're going, but we're going to figure it out, man. And I appreciate you for coming on the show. I'll have the podcast up later. I'm just going to rip the audio of it and have it going, man.
Damn, cool, man. I love you, bro. You got to come on my show, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, I do got to come on. We got to schedule that. I'll figure that out.
We got to do it in person.
You want to do it in person?
I want to do it in person.
Okay, all right.
And I want to go, I just want to see how long we can go as well.
All right, so, I could go pretty long, man.
I can go pretty long too, bro.
Let's get it done, all right. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
I love you as well.
Take care,
all right, take it easy. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. We had Knives Monroe on the podcast. If you're interested in listening to the audio from this podcast, it'll be on the Trent Knox show, which is anchor.fm/Trent Knox. You can find my podcast and everything. Also, this video will be condensed down to a 10-minute series that will go up onto my IGTV. Thank you very much for y'all tuning in. Shout out to Brian Kern. He'll be on this series or whatever we want to call it later. But thank you again. I'm out. Take it easy.